Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 387 of the Running for Real podcast. 400. You are upon us. That is so exciting. And I'm going to have to think about who that's going to be. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate all of those of you who have read Becoming a Sustainable Runner and have left a review. I really, really appreciate those reviews on Amazon. And thank you for all the support with the direction that I'm heading in from that solo episode a few weeks ago. Now, today I'm excited to welcome on the show someone who I've known for a few years, and you're going to get to hear her story, but it's also going to be a journey about how to trust yourself, trust your journey and where it's headed. And I really think you're going to enjoy this conversation today with my friend, Vanessa Peralta-Mitchell, who is the founder of Game Changers. Now, you may have heard of Game Changers, which helps bring women of color to the forefront of leadership, but it is so much more than that. And this episode is going to help you to really think about your own life and what you are doing and how you can amplify what you are doing to align with maybe some moments in your life that have been important and significant to you. So without any further ado, we are going to get on to this episode with Vanessa. Taking care of your health isn't always easy, but it should at least be simple. That's why for the last 5 years, I've been drinking AG1 every day. No exceptions, 1 scoop mixed in water once a day, every day, and it makes me feel good. I feel energized. I can take on the day knowing no matter what happens, no matter what my food intake looks like, I have taken care of myself. That's because each serving of AG1 delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more. It's a powerfully healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. I know with AG1, I'm getting this high quality nutrition. Every batch goes through this rigorous testing process so you know it's safe. Their ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrient density. If there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. And that's why I've partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/Tina. That's drinkag1.com/Tina. Check it out. Vanessa, welcome to the Running for Real podcast. I am so excited that you are here. Thank you for joining me.
I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We met in person a few weeks ago as we are recording this, which was I really, really cherished that short chunk of time that we had together, but also just the kind of group that we had of us who kept intermingling in different combinations, but still ending up together quite often. And I really just love watching my friends shine. And while you and I hadn't, met in person before, we've been in communication for probably about 5 years now, which is very exciting. And I've really loved seeing what you've built. And I said to you, I wasn't going to say this before, but I kind of am. A few years ago, you said to me about helping me with something I was looking for. And I just knew, even back then, when you reached out about helping me with something, that you were too big for what I needed. Like, I knew you were destined for things. And so I essentially pushed you away and said, like, go fly. And so it's been really cool, like, watching it unfold. And I couldn't have even told you back then, like, what it was about you, but there was something about you that I just, like, got that sense. And so it's really cool. We're going to talk about a lot of that today. welcome to the episode because I've just talked for 2 minutes straight. I'm glad to have you.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here. And you're right. I mean, everything you've said is just, I don't know if it's full circle is the right way to describe it, but definitely, a starting point that was started many years ago with you and I think really through email.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see you in person and meet you in person for the first time, about 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, it was great. So for listeners, Vanessa and I were both at the Running USA conference, where Vanessa was given the Running USA Award of Excellence. And by the way, I know I should know the answer to this, but you knew that was coming or not?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
I was totally shocked.
But did you get invited down to the conference?
No, I didn't. I got invited last year.
Yep.
And then this year, Jackie and I, we were talking, Jackie from Peace Runner 773. We were both recipients last year of the Emerging Leaders Award. So we're like, oh, you going? And then we both decided to come. And then I wanted to present a workshop. So I gave myself the invite this year.
I love that. Well, that's so cool that they that just kind of worked in that way, of that opportunity presenting itself, or you putting yourself in an opportunity and then something even greater coming of it that you got to be awarded with. And I say that because I don't know how I missed that on the schedule, but I didn't know there were any awards until I was actually sitting outside the room and I heard a load of clapping and I was like, what's going on in there? And then afterwards I saw you and figured it out. But okay, so I want to talk about what you have done at Game Changers, which is you've really worked to bring women of color to the forefront, to give women of color opportunities to be coaches and leaders, because, it's one thing to have people of color in the running space. It's another for them to be in positions of power or positions of leadership. Mm-hmm. And it's really been impressive to see how you have built that, how people have gathered around it over the past few years. But I want to start by going back. On your website, you talked about this relationship, I suppose, you have with your mother. I mean, you obviously have a relationship with your mother, but how that in many ways led you to this moment, led you to creating Game Changers. Have you had conversations with your mother about dreams and goals and things that you want to achieve? Or sorry, did you both talk about it in terms of both having separate goals and dreams? Or was that something you just were able to pull out of the sacrifices she made as a mother and a wife?
We never really had concrete conversations in terms of even using the language of, goals and dreams. So on my website, when I described that moment, I didn't even know it was happening when it was actually occurring. It's one of those things where you look back and you can pinpoint something that really, impacted you in other ways later on, because my father was actually always the business owner, my whole life. Uh-huh. And my mom never, she supported my father in many ways, but she wasn't the one, driving that message. And so the moment that I explained on my website, which is essentially, I guess, our first conversation, right, about dreams and goals and aspirations. And essentially she was sharing that unfortunately, she wasn't able to fulfill her own by coming to this country and supporting my father. And there was no regrets in essence of raising her children and choosing marriage and motherhood. But it was a moment of realization that she had that, wow, she's so, her kids are grown, her grandkids are practically grown. Some of my nieces and nephews have kids. So, and I'm at the time, it was either 40 or close to 40 years old. And so here's the strongest woman I've known my whole life, just being so vulnerable in front of me. I'm her youngest daughter, and just keeping it 100, keeping it real. Man, I didn't get to fulfill. She was sharing with me that she didn't get to fulfill certain aspirations she had when she came here. And I didn't know it in the moment because I'm receiving all the emotion that she's
Mm.
sharing. But looking back, it was almost as if she was pouring into me to tell me that I don't have to
Yeah.
wait for my goals, for my dreams, for my aspirations. I can do them right now. And Tina, like, honestly, like, owning a business, creating a program or anything like that was never on my radar. And even in that day, in that moment, it still wasn't on my radar. But in some way, it was like she granted me this permission to, like, seek out this new space, seek out this, like, possibility, this, potential of what if I could. And, her passing me that baton,
Mm.
it was really something that I didn't realize I was ready to grab and of course, literally run with it. But that moment is so, so precious to me, because had she not laid down her guard and laid down this strong woman that that I've always known, there's something so beautiful about that
Yeah.
she didn't have to be that in any way, and that she entrusted me enough to be able to share that piece of her story with me. And then really her sharing that piece of hers really enabled me to build my own story,
Mm.
So
So before that moment, what were you doing? Okay, let's think about how to go about this. So it's such an amazing, impactful, powerful moment you had with your mother. Was it, you said that you didn't realize, like, straight at that moment, I love, for the many, many reasons, the kind of plant a seed in our minds analogy of things. Was it in that moment this seed of Game Changers started to grow, or did it take you a while to really start to think about what that conversation meant to you?
yeah, it took me a while to understand what that conversation meant to me, because I feel like I was holding it very sacredly.
Mm.
It was this moment in time that I knew was beyond words, and I wanted to respect that space that my mother was in. So it wasn't something that I, like, shared publicly. And in fact, since then, I've asked her if it's okay, to share, because it plays such a crucial role in what I do, and why I show up the way I do. But it took me a long time to understand, that, hey, maybe I do have an idea, or maybe I should build a business, or maybe there's more than what I even know that I'm capable of. So once I unpack that, and that doesn't happen overnight, right? That doesn't even happen like in a couple of days. It's really a journey. And then once you get to a certain milepost, you can look back and understand what has gotten you to that milepost. And my mom was definitely that starting point. And only then, when I was unpacking that, did I realize that, oh, that was the moment. That was the moment that gave me the okay, that green light, that permission, that space, that platform, essentially, to live a life without limits.
And now you have taken that message and you believe in passing that on to other women, giving them the permission to take up space, to be at the front, to put themselves out there. Have you always been someone who was able to shine light on others, or was that again something that came from that moment of recognizing she gave this gift to me and this is what it did for me? I want to do the same to others.
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, I come from such a big family, so I don't know if it was necessarily shining a light on others versus, like, being there for each other.
Mm.
I am one of six or seven, depends who you ask. Long story, but we always had to look out for each other. And then, there's a huge gap between the sister that's older than me and the brother that's younger than me. And so, even though I'm the second youngest child and youngest girl, in some ways I had to step up to the role of, like, looking out for my younger brother, because everyone already left. They were so much older.
Mm.
So it was just, I don't know if shining a light in terms of looking back and me growing up, but it was more like being there for one another, having each
Showing
other's
up. Yeah.
back, and just knowing that, that there was no lack of knowing that you were loved, respected, and supported. So maybe in essence, that was the beginnings of knowing that that can turn into shining a light on someone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much from that in terms of feeling that you are loved, feeling that people are there and have your back and are encouraging you to keep going. It's interesting how that does show up in ways. And in the same vein, if someone maybe didn't receive what they, didn't receive that as when they were young, and they struggle to accept love, they struggle to accept support because that wasn't something that they were surrounded by in their early years. And so tell us about when the idea of Game Changers came to be then.
Yeah, it's funny because it almost feels separate, but it's definitely intertwined, in terms of my mother. And there's another story about my mother that really ties into Game Changers, which I actually don't have on my website, but I do often share. And that is, well, let me start with Game Changers. So Game Changers, first of all, I should explain what Game Changers
Yeah,
is.
sorry.
Yeah,
That was
so
on me.
no, it's all good. So Game Changers is a program. It's a nationwide program where we provide resources and funds so more women of color can become certified run coaches. In essence, we empower women of color to go from community runner to industry leader. And it's really about putting us at the helm, at the forefront, and not just so much about bringing us into the industry because we are here,
Sure.
but it's about changing who's leading the way and who's seen as those experts and leaders in the running space. So, Game Changers for me, came way after I first stepped into that certification room so that I myself can become a certified run coach. I was the first in my circles of like friends and family and community to really run. I know that sounds kind of crazy to those who've probably been running since they were like 2 or something, but my high school had no track team, my college had no track team. I definitely played sports, so running was always there, but it wasn't like its sole lane of like activity or competition. But in seeing a documentary which totally changed the trajectory of my life, I took up running, and lo and behold,
What was that documentary?
it was Women in Sports. So the documentary was like an HBO documentary,
Okay.
and it covered a bunch of different sports, and running just happened to be one of them. And so after seeing KV Switzer's story, and not just hers, but like every woman who dared to go against the grain and dared to like proclaim her presence in a space that wasn't designed or created for her, it just made me think like, wow, like they did so much for us just to simply register for a race, or buy tickets to a game, or just be in the same being in the presence of sports. And like, how dare I not pay homage to them in some way? And
Yeah.
me, it was like, I'm going to run a marathon, and it was like I never ran other than like soccer, basketball, but that day I promised myself I was, and it took me a lot of years. But along that journey, right, I became known among my friends, family, and community that I was running. And all of a sudden I became that expert among my circles, and I wanted to step up to that level of responsibility. And that's why I got certified, right? Because if everyone's asking me all these questions, I wanted to feel like I had some sort of stamp of approval or some form of education to back up what I was saying, and not just my own personal experience. So what I did recognize in that room, which is probably a seed planted, is that I was one of 2 people of color in that room, visibly at least, and visibly the only woman of color. And I didn't say a word during that whole weekend, except for the last day. And it was like a random, I think I was asked a question, and I kind of sort of answered it. And I remember the instructor was like, you know what, we haven't heard from you all weekend. And I'm like, oh yeah, which was fine because I was okay with not being, seen, really. You know, I felt more comfortable because I felt that I almost didn't belong in this space, or maybe I wasn't ready. I mean, all these, you know, second guessing things came into my head, and I left that certification. Honestly, could have gone two ways, Tina. I could have taken that test, passed it, and, you know, moved forward with what I wanted to do with coaching, or I could have just simply faded to the background and not taken the test, not tell anybody except for my husband, because he was watching our three kids at the time. But I could have not done anything, and nobody would have known. And I think it goes back to making that promise to myself that that's what I was going to do, and I wanted to keep that promise. And so I took the certification test, and I passed, and I started to let people know. And as I was letting people know, I came across opportunities. And those opportunities as a certified run coach kind of showed me a lot of the same, you know what I mean? In terms of, like, you know, companies or brands or businesses that I work with within the running industry, a lot of them were the same story, right? So who's in the front of the room? Who's, you know, giving me the, like, yes, you are a runner, or like, yes, this is what we need. And for predominantly, it was white males, you know, same gender, same race. And it just started enabling me to connect the dots of, wow, you know, certification, you know, who was in front of the room, who was teaching me all the information I needed to learn, same gender, same race. So I go back to thinking about my marathon, joining a training program, getting coached. Who are those people that were teaching me and giving me the green light in terms of, like, yes, you can move on to this, you know, again, same gender, same race. The people I was working with, brands and businesses in the running industry, like, it was the same message, like, over and over and over again. And finally I was like, you know what, that's it. I'm going to do something to showcase that there are other experts in the industry. And I wanted to put together a panel of experts that were women of color. And that's when I didn't know in that moment, but that's when it was a realization that, oh snap, like, there is not very many, if very little, women of color certified run coaches. And I do want to, the caveat there is, I understand that some may see certification as two ways in terms of, like, yes, it's needed, or maybe it's not needed. But for me, in that space of, I wanted to venture out on my own, do this event where there's, like, experts providing their advice and tips, and I wanted them to be certified. And I was really, really surprised that a lot of the women of color that I had reached out to either didn't know about being certified, or the cost just made it inaccessible for them. And so I did eventually have that event. And from that event, this is a super long story short that I'm condensing, but from that event, Game Changers was born.
I'll be honest, I spent a lot of last year injured. While it may not seem that way when I look at my kind of highlight reel of my running over the year, I actually was not able to get as much running in as I would like, and also had to cut a lot of races out of my schedule because of an injury. Now I am getting back into longer runs. I've done a few 16-mile long runs, a few 17s, and I am finally feeling like I can get back to those long runs and maybe dream of doing a race sometime soon. That means I can get back to using gels. I can get back to using chews from Precision, which I absolutely love to take beyond the fueling component of keeping myself fueled for races, but just in general, I enjoy it. So I love the original gels. They go down really easy. I put a video recently on my social media of me taking down an entire gel in 20 seconds, enjoying it while doing it. That's how easily they go down. I also want to mention their chews. I love that my favorite flavor is lemon and mint. It's just a good little combination there. And if you don't know how much fuel you should be taking, what you should be taking, they have a free fuel and hydration planner that you can go to in the show notes to get directly for you. Don't have to use Precision products, but it'll help you figure out what you need. There's also free consultation links that you can get in there. A free 20-minute call, no obligations, no nothing. As a friend of mine, you can get 15% off if you are ready to go get yourself some Precision fuel. And you can use the code Tina Sent Me if you want to go use that at precisionfuelandhydration.com. And there's also going to be plenty of links to the other things I talked about today in that, including that fuel and hydration planner, which will help you figure out how much carb, fluid, sodium you need to perform at your best. I love Precision because they put so much thought and energy and intention into what they do. And I also take their electrolytes, not only every morning, first thing I do when I wake up, yes, even before my AG1, but also I take it during and after my runs. I love the taste. It's really easy. Go use code Tina sent me at precisionfuelandhydration.com. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And you kind of answered what was coming up in my mind when you first started telling that. At the end, you kind of answered what I was going to ask you in terms of, you have spoken often about, online, on interviews, even here, about kind of what holds you back is your belief in yourself, your belief in, I can do this, which is something that a lot of women struggle with in terms of just this, that they are their own limiting belief. And then you mentioned there about like the reason you were driven to get the certification was because your experiences didn't feel enough for you to be giving advice. And I'd just love to just dig into that a little bit more, because I'm very much of the belief that, like, yeah, even someone who just started running 6 months ago has things to offer and can be a mentor to new runners or people coming in the space or people trying a new distance, if that's what you've been doing. And I'm just curious with that, was it when you got that certification, you felt, okay, now I'm good, I believe in myself as a coach? Or did that still take some time because maybe it was about more than just the certification?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, spot on.
This is for you specifically, not necessarily like other women that you're getting to take this.
Yeah. I mean, spot on. I mean, I think sometimes in life we have this big goal and we feel like, oh, well, once we hit this, milestone, then it's like we feel like we've achieved this goal. And then it's like, no, that's not really the case. It's just a step towards that goal. And yes, I did initially think like, this is what I'm going to, do. I'm going to get this certification. And the certification is actually at the back end of a story of me actually being laid off. I was pregnant with our third child. I was 7 months pregnant with our third child, and I got laid off and was kind of catapulted into like, what is it that I want to do, and I had put on the back burner this certification because the cost, it was just cost way too much in terms of the actual course, the traveling, the flight, the hotel, the meals, the transportation. It just wasn't affordable for me at that moment. But getting thrown into this space of like, now what am I going to do? I took a chance, and realized that now's the time. Again, honing back into that message with my mom, right? Like, I don't have to wait to fulfill a dream or a hope or a desire. And, going to that certification, I did go into it rather naively because I was like, okay, like I'm going to get this certification and I'm going to be a coach, and, like everything is going to just fall into place. And it didn't, I realized that the feeling that I had being there, I wasn't anticipating, because you kind of go from one extreme to the other, right? So on one hand, I'm seen as this go-to person that knows all the information, who's done the half, that's done the full, has done like all these races. And on the other hand, I step into this space with people who have probably been doing it. At least I felt that way. People who've been doing it for a long time, and I'm the newbie. Like I want to absorb all that information and kind of feel like, well, am I supposed to be here among those who know more or perceivably more? But after that, it was more about not just staying in your head, right? And not just staying in the space of not knowing or feeling uncertain or feeling unsure about you or what you want to do, but it's turning that into, okay, what steps can I take? What action, what move, what crawl, skip, jump can I make happen so that I can make this more of a realization? And those first couple of steps were like, going out for like an interview to be a run coach for a company, or, building my own training programs. And, I say it so freely right now, as if those were, really clear options, but they weren't. You kind of feel a little stuck because it's like, oh crap, I just made this huge leap in this, investment, and I don't know what tomorrow or even around the corner is going to look like. But I gotta take the chance and peak. I gotta take the chance and feel that I am capable enough to risk this fear, this doubt, this uncertainty, to find out what's on the other side. And then there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. Like, am I going to be a successful coach? Am I going to be a successful business person? Am I going to be able to fulfill the dreams my mom came here with, in essence, right? Like, I don't know those answers, but how beautiful is it that I get to see, I get to try, I get to, you know what I mean? I get to live in this space of, I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I will figure out the how.
Oh, beautifully said. I want to just take a moment to make sure that listeners know, because I suspect this is the case at least. This is not what you were doing, and now you've crossed that threshold. You've got this very successful business. You've brought in all these women. You've got, media coverage, and you've been. We'll go over some of the other things you've achieved. It's not like you've done those things and now all those fears are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us that, just in terms of like, there's always going to be fear. You're always going to have to put yourself out of your comfort.
Oh my goodness, yes. I get those feelings all the time, which I find sometimes ironic, because here I am building this program of having, certified run coaches, women of color, taking up space and becoming leaders. And yet I am still on my journey, right? I haven't reached a destination where I am, I don't have this like magic shield that I put up and all of a sudden, like, I have the utmost confidence. But I think you can be both, right? Like, I can be confident and I can be vulnerable. I can be strong and I can be soft. I can know what it is that I want, and I can still be uncertain of what that looks like. Like, I think you can, I know you can be both. And, I've had opportunities even within the last couple of months where I've almost literally talked myself out of them because of that feeling of, it circles me right back to that certification room. Like, do I belong? Is this opportunity, am I ready for this opportunity? You know what I mean? Like, and I've learned that, sometimes, especially, like someone like my husband's like, babe, like, why do you feel like that? Like, you've done all these things. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I can appreciate the fact that I still feel like that. I feel like it keeps me so true to why I'm building what I'm building, why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I can still tap into that Vanessa who was in that certification room. And honestly, if you even want to go more further back than that, I can still tap into the Vanessa who would turn beet red when she talked in small groups. Or I can still tap into the Vanessa that did not talk to a soul in a room full of like classmates. You know what I mean? Because I was just that shy. And I love that Vanessa. I love this Vanessa. And I'm damn proud of all of them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like I have to be okay with feeling that doubt and uncertainty and whatever other label you want to call it, because that's what makes me me. That's how I'm able to talk to you right now. I mean, I get your emails, Tina. I obviously see you, you know what I mean? Or anyone that I talk to that has a platform. I mean, it's just that feeling of like showing up as myself, just as you do. You show up as yourself, and knowing that, there is value in in how I show up as Vanessa. And there's value in how you show up as Tina. And whoever's listening, it's value however you show up. And once we recognize that value, then we're able to show up as ourselves that much quicker in spaces and in rooms and in opportunities. And again, this ties right back to, my mom. And I think I was going to say this before, but I forgot to actually say it, which is, so with my mom, with, English being her second language, again, I can look back on, now over 40 years old, looking back at childhood and understanding how pivotal those moments were when I was standing next to my mom and she had to advocate for her intelligence, or she had to advocate for what she needed or wanted just because she had a very strong accent, or in those moments where she would nudge me because she wanted me to speak, because she was just so used to people not taking her, and valuing, or maybe saying that they don't understand her, all those things where it made me realize that being her voice, now with building Game Changers, it's about amplifying those voices that are unheard, amplifying the voices in the room that maybe aren't valued as they're supposed to be. And so that's so much stuff. It comes so full circle and it's so crazy. But I think if you just take the time or the moment to understand, there's so many things that can connect you to who you were and who you are, and how they're beautifully aligned to enable you to be the person you're supposed to become. Yeah, I think it's something there,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the way that you described that. And that's such a good reminder for all of us to, maybe I know I'm guilty of quite often bashing the elite version of myself of oh, she was just clueless and she didn't know what she was doing. What an idiot. But then she was very much a part of me. She got me to this moment in a roundabout way. She taught me things. So it is very easy to look back on ourselves and think negatively on these versions of ourselves. But they have shaped who we are. And the version of us today will shape who we are in 10, 15, 20 years from now. And I love that curiosity that you have to discover what that is. And that, as you said, that softness towards accepting and embracing all those parts of you. And then for people listening, I know sometimes when you hear conversations like this, it can feel like I'm so far away from that awareness and that level of understanding of myself. I just can't see a way of where I'll get there. But it is listening to conversations like this. It is, providing yourself with the language that Vanessa, you in particular, are using here, and others who do the same, that allows you to unlock that and start to be curious about yourselves. Maybe taking the headphones out on occasion on a run and letting your mind explore. Finding other places to be still and quiet where you can think those things through. And then, you said that a lot of these situations bring you back to that certification room. But also we go through moments where they are their own form of fear. Like as you stood on that stage when you were getting that award of excellence, I bet your heart was slamming out of your chest to a room of 500 people that were staring at you. That was a fearful moment where you chose to rise to the occasion. I mean, in some ways you didn't have a choice, but that was a moment where you got to make that question. You got to decide who you were going to be. And these moments will continue to happen. Both Vanessa and I, to this day, I mean, I'm assuming for you, but definitely for me, sometimes I still reach out to people or might ask someone for something and they say, no, or they don't say anything at all and they ignore me. So it's not like you suddenly reach this threshold of where you're over it. You want to keep striving to grow and to evolve. And so you will continue to find yourself in uncomfortable situations, even when things are going right for you, like what I just said with you with that, award. I don't know whether you've won other awards along the way, but that was a big room full of people, regardless of who they were. As you said, being nervous of standing up in front of a few classmates versus 500 people, that you've come a long way.
Oh my God, yes. And that was my very first award, by the way. And I don't know if you know this, but so for those listening, they don't actually tell you you're getting the award. And even like the screen that shows up, it says, "Congratulations, Vanessa." And I remember like I kind of sat up and I was like, nah, like, cause it doesn't say your full name.
Like, my name's Vanessa.
There's other Vanessas, you know what I mean? Like in the world, in the industry. And then when that first, so Running USA did such a beautiful job, and the way that they share with you that you won is that they show video clips of those who submitted, people that that are saying congratulations. And so when the first video showed up, it was Coach Tia, who spearheaded this whole thing, by the way. So, oh my goodness, but I was so thankful. I got to actually see her the next night. So that was really beautiful. But I remember seeing her, and I don't know if you know this, Tina, but I was full blown crying. Like I was
I didn't.
Tears. My hand, one hand was on my face, the other hand's like slapping the air, like, oh no, like stop, like, because then it was like Coach Tia, and then Coach Lee and her daughter Ruthia, and Tony, Athena, Maria, and Maya. I mean, it was just coach after coach after coach talking about congratulations and the impact that this has had on their lives, and just the impact that we're making together. And I was so emotional. It was almost comical, but I was so thrown off guard. And the best way I can describe it is because I wasn't, I mean, obviously I wasn't prepared for the moment, but I also wasn't wasn't prepared of being poured into. Like in that moment, I felt that these coaches, and they all banded together by like nominating me and stuff. And so like they were pouring into me, and I was just like totally caught off guard. And it was, really a moment of complete gratitude for me that I, in a room of 500 strangers, I wasn't expecting to, really, show that side of me. And even though only the really people at my table, but there was this realization like, oh crap, I have to go up there, because they handed out 2 awards. And so I was the second one. So I did realize that the person accepted and said a speech, and I'm like, oh crap. Like, so I think I just said a quick prayer, and then up there, I would say, okay, so from my chair to walking up the stage, my heart, I mean, if you did a close-up, you probably saw it jumping out my chest. But when I got to the stage, honestly, there was, looking back, I can't tell you what I said. Like, luckily they did record it, but I don't know what I said in that moment right after. But I know I said something, and whatever it is that I needed to say in that moment, it felt so effortless, Tina. Like, it felt like, and I think that's just, for me, such a clear sign of what it is that I'm doing and why I'm doing it. It's just so,
you need a speech.
It's so rooted in my soul, in my gut of who I am, and like everybody before me, you know what I mean? Like, and so like after I left the stage, yes, I couldn't have told you what I said, but I know that I confidently showed up representing me, my mom, our Game Changers, and every woman of color whose voice has not been heard in a room. And that's how I know what I'm doing is, it's not only important and impactful, but I know that I'm supposed to be doing it. I know this is my assignment. I know this is what my life has, and God has guided me to do. Moments like that I can just speak freely and accurately and boldly and confidently about what we're doing with Game Changers. I sure as heck know that, it's for a reason. Yeah.
And I'm assuming another one of those moments was when you were asked to be one of the, I should write down exactly, is it called the Got Milk team? The Got Milk coach?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Got Milk something? Team Milk?
Yeah, so it's Runner's World and the Milk Project. So they came together to form, Every Woman's Marathon. So that actually was one of the things I was referencing, which is funny you should bring that up. But that was one of the moments I was referencing where I felt that the opportunity was bigger than me. And I almost talked myself out of it, but my husband always comes in at clutch. And, he certainly reminded me about, who I'm representing and how that this moment was designed for me because I am ready for it. And so I almost talked myself out of that without knowing where the project was really going to land. And now knowing that, I'm one of the 3 coaches that built co-created the training programs is certainly a blessing on blessing, and speaks to like, wow, I almost second guessed myself right out of this bigger impact of what it means.
I could talk to you about the Tracksmith Brighton base long sleeve all day, every day. You know this. I love it. I've got the same ones I got in 2019. I still wear today. I love that they keep me warm on my core until I warm up a bit, and then they let the warm out while all the time being tighter on my arms to keep my arms warm throughout those winter months. I wear them during the day. I wear them on my runs. They can handle like 3 or 4 days of me wearing them during the day, and then 2 to 3 runs on top. Love it. That is my favorite thing about Tracksmith. But today I want to talk to you about some tights, some pants, because it is that time of year and many of you have been asking me which ones do I like. I have tried most of the Tracksmith tights. My favorite, though, are the session tights. They're streamlined full length for year-round performance, but I really love the way that they fit. As we know, running tights are an essential part of our wardrobe, and they made a tight in this way with the session tights that can handle everyday training regardless of the weather, but especially in these winter months. They fit well, they last long, they're durable, they are comfortable, they come in all kinds of cute colors. And I strongly encourage you to head over to tracksmith.com/Tina to go get yourself one of those Brighton bases, the long sleeves, and also my favorite are the session tights for those of you who have been asking. I have this like maroony color, or I think they call it berry, in those session tights, and I absolutely love them. They're my favorite ones to put on. That said, I want to mention with Tracksmith, my favorite thing about the brand. I've mentioned I've been wearing the same item since 2019. That is the key here. If we want to reduce our carbon footprint, our individual emissions, the biggest thing we need to do is buy durable, long-lasting items that last and can handle lots of wears before washing. That is what Tracksmith shines at. Go to tracksmith.com/Tina to find out more. Yeah, and so that's the Every Woman's Marathon.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I don't know about everyone listening, but I feel like in my world, that is everywhere. Like, it feels like everyone in the world is going to that. That I've had so many people say to me they've signed up, they felt inspired by that. The ads are hitting me hard. And so, I'm excited to see what this is and that you get to be a part of it and you get to be a leader for it. As they are creating something really special. So I'm so glad that your husband was able to pull you out of that, hesitation to say yes to an opportunity that presented itself. And this with myself and working for this World Road Running Championships that I'm doing next year. There are times when I feel like, I don't know if I can. I should pass this to someone else. Like I don't know what I'm doing. But that is the thing. I've really had a lot of conversation with other women about, as women, we tend to do that of say like, oh, I don't have 80% of the answers to this, or I don't know, I'm not, 80%, I'm not in the top 20% of people that know what they're doing about this. Therefore I shouldn't do it. However, if we give ourselves the chance and just as women, we find a way and we figure it out. And for most men, they don't need to figure it out because they already know they'll do that. And it's not that, defeatist attitude that starts, weaving its way into your brain if you don't know all the material. And so I really love that you were able to take that, and I can't wait to see where it goes. as the race closes in, and we get to see the fruits of your labor as runners get ready for that race. So that's really cool, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So with your Game Changers leaders that are coming into, or that are at this year, you mentioned about a panel, how a panel was really what kicked off Game Changers, really set things in motion. You have another panel coming up in a few months, and I'd love to hear you share about that, as I think many listeners may have the opportunity to go to that, even if they are not running at this race. So,
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. It's quite amazing because in creating that first panel, which we called it the All Women's Run panel, I ended up having two women of color on that panel. And it, since we had a hard time looking for certified run coaches who are women of color, we went with experts that we knew that would be beneficial for those attending. And fast forward, right? So that's like back in 2020, fast forward to now. It's amazing because our Game Changers panel is all, there's 6 diverse coaches, women of color, who are certified run coaches. And to know that we can provide these diverse perspectives to Race Expos really shows that we are the thing that we were looking for back in 2020. And to know that we have built, this this space, this opportunity, this platform for ourselves, and to be this solution really to the problem that we were having in terms of not having a lot of us in this expert space. So we debuted our panel in the fall at the race. It's a half marathon and 5K in Atlanta. One of our coaches in our network, Tess Sobamehan Marshall, is the race director of the race. So it was really nice. And ironically, I didn't even plan this, but we debuted it on National Coaches Day. So that was how cool, right?
Yeah.
But it's really just a testament to, ways that women of color are impactful in their communities and in the industry. We talk about different things in terms of inclusivity within the sport. We talk about, of course, race day tips, right, and expertise. And there's other niche topics, whether it comes to like women and menopause or, parenting, and just opening up the lens in terms of running and the different conversations that we can have when you have different diverse perspectives having those conversations. So we're slated to be at Cherry Blossom next. So Cherry Blossom is one of our supporting sponsors, and we will be there in April in Washington, D.C. And it's really nice because last year we had maybe 12 or 13 coaches there, which that was already an awesome time. We were one of the first few times that we met in person, and our presenting sponsor, so Brooks is our presenting sponsor, and so they recognized that was one of the first times we were meeting last year, so they got us photographers. We had a photo shoot and stuff like that, and it was just really a beautiful way to introduce this, like, okay, we have this nationwide program, let's all get together. And now this year, we'll have about closer to 30 to 35 coaches there.
Incredible growth.
And yes, it's crazy. And not only will we have our Game Changers panel there as well, but 2 of our Game Changers are now the official coaches for the Cherry Blossom 5K. And that is, just speaks volumes about, what partnering and having an alignment in terms of your partners and the platform and the amplification of having women of color in these positions of power, in terms of, Cherry Blossom 5K and their audience now looking to our coaches, Coach Camila and Coach Carla May, as the expert go-to as they train for their 5K. So yeah, we're looking to actually take this panel to other expos throughout the U.S. and definitely welcome those conversations. And being at Running USA, earlier in the month was a good place to start those types of discussions.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see where you're at in a year's time, and also that's such a good reminder of, like, you're doing the work, but you're also getting other coaches these opportunities. So then they get to know, people at these races, people at these events, people in leadership positions who then offer them further opportunities. And then it continues that, I guess it would be a pyramid, right? Pyramid makes feels like a negative word. So let's just say triangle. Pyramid reminds me of like pyramid scheme. So I don't want to use the word pyramid. But like it just shows the growth that can happen when you do something like what you did, get people together, remind them of opportunities and that courage that you took to just get that started. So what can what can a listener listener who is hearing your story wants to support what you are doing at Game Changers, what can they do to help you?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And I always feel like we're all capable of supporting or helping or impacting. And at the fundamental the fundamental way of how to support Game Changers, something as simple as, seeing who people to your audience, right? Seeing who you look to for your expert advice, right? Seeing who whether it's accounts you're following on social media or whether whose newsletter you're signed up to or what websites you visit, or when you pick up that magazine, in the running space, who is it that these quotes that you're seeing, who are those people? And if they are more of the same, which there's nothing wrong about that, by the way, but I will say that is testament to leaving space and opportunity for you to find more people, right? Different people, different voices that can share expertise and knowledge and advice and tips. And I would start there. So, see who you go to for your advice in this running space, and then think about, how can I expand on this? And then if you need help in terms of who to go to that might be different or more widen your lens in terms of different voices, you can definitely visit my website. It's bcpm.com. And we have a Game Changers section in there, of course. And then every month, we do have an IG live series called The Female Coach Lead. And that's L.E.A.D, which I think, Tina, that's where you and I first started talking. I think when I first launched The Female Coach Lead. And so L.E.A.D stands for Leveraging, Educating, Amplifying Diversity, to spotlight and showcase different expertise within the industry. And they're all women of color certified run coaches. We talk to one every month where we can hone in on her specialty. And so I think when I first started putting the Female Coach Lead together and putting it out there, I think that's when I was emailing you, Tina, and looking to maybe support you in your endeavors. And I know it was darning mine. And you're like, nah, girl, you're like, you need to do this in your own way, in your own lane. And you were supporting me way back when, before I really even launched things out. So I certainly appreciate that. In every aspect. And it was so cool to, again, meet you in person. Because it's like, we've been talking through email.
Yeah, I know, it really was. It really was.
I think that's at the ground level, right? Like seeing who you can go to, knowing that we're a resource if you want to look for someone else. And then if you want to take that a step further, I would say definitely encourage your favorite races to look for us in terms of their expos.
Yep.
We would love to take our Game Changers panel to different expos and showcase our diverse perspectives. I do have a video that we put together. Shout out to Maria Vargas, Brand Spark Consulting. She helped our videos and stuff. Yes, I love Maria too. And so we're putting together a press release as well. So, but there's so many other ways to support, but those two are definitely two things that come to mind.
Yes, thank you so much. I will put links in the show notes for those things you mentioned. And I also encourage listeners, many of the people that Vanessa has mentioned along the way are previous podcast guests as well. That's something, if you want to get to know people on a deeper level, those are there. And I'm also going to go look at that and see what other people I can bring on this podcast in the future, or maybe I'll just ask you, because I think it's very important that we continue to hear from different voices. And that is why I do not interview the same old names that are, have their own stories, but, maybe aren't doing things that are changing the running industry in a way that makes it feel welcoming for all people. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your heart. And it just came out of this episode. So I'm so glad people get to know you. And I really can't wait to see where you go in the coming years, and where we can look back on this time and be like, wow, like that was, I thought things were going well then, and now look at it. So keep up the amazing work, because you're doing it, and it's amazing to see.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Before we go any further, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Running for Real team. Without them, I would not be able to do barely anything compared to what I'm able to do today. They are behind the scenes. They are there for me. I am just so appreciative of them. To Jeremy Nessel, our podcast editor, audio consultant, and someone who's been with me since the start. To Sally Pontarelli, our content and operations manager, who is there day to day doing all the things to help me be successful. To Kelsey Wang, our head of design, and Louise Murphy, our associate designer. And finally, to Sandy Gutierrez, our photographer and content strategist. I am appreciative of all of you and wouldn't be able to do what I do without you. Thank you so much for joining Vanessa and I today. I encourage you to go check the links in the show notes at runningforreal.com/episode 387. You can also find links to our sponsors in the show notes. That is AG1, Precision, and Tracksmith. Go get those special deals over there. You can also go leave a review for becoming a sustainable runner if you have not already. And if you are a race director, this is the time for you to sign up for our webinar, which is coming at the end of March. We are working very hard on making it easy for you to make your race sustainable. Or if you know someone who hosts a small race of a few thousand, this is the ideal thing for them to be sent that will do the work for you. My team has worked very hard to give you the tools or give your friend the tools they need to be successful, to be sustainable, to start dipping their toe in the water. And it's just the best way to go about it without investing in a full-time sustainability person, which I understand is not realistic. So if you or you have friends who are small race directors, send them to the link in the show notes to go get that. Sign up for that webinar, which will be held at the end of March. Thank you so much for listening, my friends. Go find Vanessa online. Go check out Game Changers, and I will see you next week.